In this video, I set out on a journey through Albania, with a special focus on its communist past. Many people don't know that after World War II, Albania became one of the most isolated communist countries in the world. Under communist regime of Enver Hoxha, hundreds of thousands of bunkers were built and the country lived in isolation for decades. Bunkers, abandoned factories, monuments and other markers of the communist era can still be explored today, but the country has changed, and in this episode I discovered a modern-day Albania with its stunning natural landmarks, culture and infrastructure. This is an attempt to look at the country more deeply, through legacies of different eras. Hello world, it's VAGABOND here and welcome to this brand new video from Albania. I continue exploring Balkan Peninsula and I'm going to spend next couple of weeks in this lovely European country. So I'm planning to travel across Albania north to south, visiting interesting locations along the way, and I'm starting my trip in the city of Shkodra, aka Shkodër. So the reason why I started filming this video in Shkodra is because I came to Albania from Montenegro, and Shkodra is the nearest major town of Albania to Montenegrin border. This is actually a very historical place, so this city was founded in the 4th century before Christ. Just think about it, how old it is. So it's very historical and it has a distinct old town which is actually quite well maintained, and it's indeed a pleasant place to hang out. So yeah, especially in summer it's very busy because this is the peak of tourist season right now in Albania. This is also the hottest season in the year. The daytime temperature today, for example, is plus 34 to plus 35 degrees Celsius in shadow. We are currently following the main walking street of Shkodra, which looks very nice. And even though we can see tourists from all over the world here, probably, it's not over touristy, as I can say. So it's not too crowded. Albania is not a part of the European Union and the country has its own currency, which is called lek. This is how it looks. I'm currently carrying 2000 lek, which is roughly the equivalent of 20 euros, so relatively easy to count. However, if you want to get some local currency, for you there are two options. You either withdraw money from ATM, but you have to deal with the fee, withdrawal fee, or you just find some kind of the exchange office like this one. They're very obvious on the streets, especially in some central areas of cities. And there you go, you exchange your dollars, euros. Frequently they accept other currencies, especially European currencies. Even though it's actually lunchtime right now, we're gonna have proper Albanian meal later. For now, we're gonna have the energy drink from Kosovo, which is not Albania, which is on the one hand the territory of Serbia, on another hand it's like a semi-recognized country with a significant Albanian majority. So yeah, quite an authentic drink. Where else aside from Albania and, well, probably Kosovo you can find it? So let's see, what is Albanian Red Bull like? So this drink has a taste of some standard cheap energy drink. So of course, yeah, the quality is as the quality of energy drink from Kosovo, but you know, still good to try local specialties. For some reason it's a common situation to see the American license plates in the Balkans, in Serbia, in Albania, cars from New York, Texas, California, whatever you want, very easy to find. So if you're a local and if you can explain this kind of phenomenon, I would appreciate it. I was following the country road to the top of the mountain and actually had no idea where it was going. The road terminated in front of the abandoned villa, which history is unknown to me. Quite a massive villa, probably constructed for a rich individual. I'm not alone here, guys. Look at that. There is a group of animals chilling inside this abandoned construction. Who are these? These are goats or what? Yeah, they look like goats. Hello. Do you speak English?
No.
English? No? No. Oh, sorry. Okay. Is there a way up?
No problem.
Up? This is the way up, right? Ah, okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Wow, there was a person who possibly just maintained this goat. Who else could it be? He pointed to the staircase leading on the very top of the villa so we can have a chance to climb to its roof. So we made it to the terrace of the villa, which is basically its highest floor. And not gonna lie, the view from here is very, very nice. We can see basically the whole city from this standpoint. So as you can see, it has mixed architecture. There is a lot of high rises, but also a lot of private houses, so it really depends on the area. And also to the left of the city we can see a small portion of Shkodër Lake, which is shared by both Albania and Montenegro. The villa happened to be the guest house for some important guests of some headquarters of the communist regime. And after the fall of the communist regime in Albania, it basically became abandoned and no one wanted to maintain it. We can enjoy the panorama of Rozafa Castle. The castle which was built in the 4th century before Christ, so it provided protection for the surrounded area from the potential assault. And nowadays it's just one of the major historical landmarks of Shkodra, and this is going to be the next place where am I supposed to go. In Albania, for already a few times I have seen this form of protection of the property. So they put some broken glass on top of the fence instead of the barbed wire, for example. And I guess this is the way they prevent people from climbing onto the territory of someone's property. So do you find this way, this kind of protection, efficient or not? So we have approached one of the most well-preserved structures of the Illyrian period in Shkodra, Rozafa Castle. You can clearly see the smoke in the mountains. This is the result of the forest fires which are taking place near the border with Montenegro, which were caused by excessive heat. The temperature was around 40 degrees Celsius in shadow. In Montenegro there are still forest fires. What's the situation in Albania? I don't know, but apparently they're still going on. Actually, the whole territory of the castle is worth exploring because you can not just see fantastic views of the lake, but enjoy the ancient architecture, different structures of the original fortress, of the original castle, and also the views to the opposite side. Over here we can see a part of the Drin River, one of the major rivers in Albania. So, after exploring the city for the whole day, I obviously got hungry. For dinner, I came to one of the restaurants here in Shkodër and I just ordered something which was called homemade meatballs. So they were served with a little bit of cheese inside and also a little bit of salad. I was also given this complimentary bread and, well, a glass of water. So just 6 euros for this whole thing. In the evening, I went out for a walk through the old town of Shkodër. On summer evenings, this pedestrian street really comes to life. It has the cozy atmosphere of a small European town. Restaurants and bars are filled with tourists. Different languages can be heard all around, and the whole vibe is very pleasant. It was a very nice beginning of exploration of Albania, which I started from the city of Shkodra, but it's high time to move further southbound. I'm going to do so by, well, mostly by hitchhiking probably, and I'm going to visit a couple of places along the way. So it's new day in Shkodra and currently I'm going to the edge of the city to start hitchhiking from there. Aha, perfetto.
Tirana.
Tirana, aha. Aha, super, grazie mille.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Okay, ciao, ciao. A kind Albanian man has just given me a lift towards the end of the traffic jam, basically, from where I'm about to start hitchhiking further. Yeah, I was just walking along this traffic jam. He just randomly stopped and offered me a ride, so why not? He was living in Italy, that's why I said goodbye to him in Italian or something. So I'm going to explore the system of bunkers. You know, in times when Albania was a communist country, when it was under the rule of Ervan Hoxha, the Albanian communist, at some point this person became obsessed with the idea that Albania can be potentially invaded by other countries. So he focused on development of defense system of Albania. somehow he genuinely believed that building bunkers would be a very nice solution. Different estimates claim different figure, but from 100,000 to 700,000 bunkers appeared all around Albania, and frequently those were not individual bunkers, those were actual system of bunkers, like the one which we can see right now. There is bunker number 1, bunker number 2, 3 and 4, and over here it's sort of the observation tower, because this particular system of bunkers is situated very close to the coastline. Over there is the sea, which was definitely visible from this watchtower. So this is like the coastal defense system. Bunkers were of different size. Some of them were quite small, so they were only able to allocate a few people, but some were significantly bigger, like the one which I'm currently entering. So inside there was a little trench and basically the view to the opposite side. So they had reinforced concrete gate on basically two sides of the bunker, on the back side and over here as well. Look how thick those doors were, those gates. They're massive. I guess someone who manufactured concrete back then was thriving, because some enormous amount of concrete was used during the construction of all of these bunkers. Actually, there were even more bunkers, but some of them were hidden deeper in the bushes next to these major bunkers. So here they are, and over here are smaller ones. They are inside this sort of, well, I'm not sure if it's a swampy area or not, but we can see two of them in the bushes. Just been given a short lift to the main road, which I'm going to follow for a few kilometers. Another friendly Albanian was giving me a lift, and another Albanian who was actually living in Italy. He is the third person who is giving me a lift today and who actually lives in Italy. After the collapse of the communist regime in Albania, there was very hard times actually in the 90s. So a lot of Albanians actually, they moved to Italy from here. They literally just took boats all the way to there to escape poverty and criminal, like this whole mess which was going on here. So not surprising to see a lot of them there in Italy, and a lot of people come back to their home country for some summer vacations, so they visit their relatives or just spend some time home here in Albania. That person just bought me some Red Bull and water, which I obviously appreciate, thanks to him. And now let's carry on moving. So I was just approaching the hitchhiking spot, and the person just stopped me to eventually give a lift to the town where I'm heading. So we are approaching the mountainous area of Albania, which looks very beautiful actually. What is your name?
No capito.
No, Ivan.
Abdullah.
Okay, nice to meet you. Abdullah, Ivan. A lot of people in Albania don't speak English, however a lot of them live in other countries and they may speak languages of that countries. So a lot of people live in Italy, France, so if you speak these languages like Italian, French, etc., that it's very beneficial in Albania. So we are finally off the tourist radar. I made it to an entirely random Albanian town which is called Laj. So I guess in the past it was a famous industrial city, because in the past there was the factory which was known for the production of fertilizers. So we just made it to the territory of what used to be Laj Superphosphate factory. This was the industry built in 1960s, in times when Albania was communist. The country had to be self-sufficient and it had to produce a lot of stuff for itself, because they disrupted connection with other countries. So this factory produced fertilizers for domestic market of Albania, and the peak of its functioning was from 1960s, so since the moment it was built, and up to the early 1980s. And later, due to the aging equipment, due to disrupted supply chains, due to economical crisis by the end of the communist era in Albania, the factory eventually closed down and ceased its operation. A lot of people from Lach and surrounding villages were working on this factory, so closure of the factory led to unemployment of a lot of people in Lach, to general economical decline in this settlement. Eventually the factory became just some unremarkable ruins. So yeah, the territory of the factory nowadays is just a complete wasteland. The ground surrounding some parts of the factory has different color, starting from purple like this and up to yellow. There must be some environmental concerns related to this factory, and it's not surprising considering that you can just see sulfur casually lying on the ground. This is just one of the abandoned parts of the factory, and it smells awfully here. So it looks like someone is actually collecting some trash basically to recycle it eventually. Hello, do you speak English? English? Yeah, this is recycling?
Yes, yes.
Oh, yeah, so yeah, the person has just confirmed that apparently they are doing some kind of the recycling here in the factory. So it seems to me that these guys are just gradually demolishing this factory step by step, and they're trying to extract some useful materials such as metal, for example, from these ferroconcrete structures. The closure of the factory led to unemployment and economic decline of this area. So not surprising to witness this picture. I went to, let's say, northern part of the factory to get closer to smokestacks, and it seems that we even have an opportunity to enter at least some of them. Yeah, not gonna lie, they look monstrous when you approach them. Wow, something is falling from the top. This is how the smokestack looks from the inside. Look how massive it is. It kinda has a bunch of levels, but anyway, they're not accessible. Here on the ground we can also see some sulfur. So yeah, this whole area is heavily contaminated with toxic stuff. We haven't got inside any of the factory's buildings yet, so this is one of them. See, it's entirely ruined, as basically other constructions here. So overall, not so much to say aside from this apocalyptic sceneries, you can say. Well, it's a good spot for photography, for industrial photography, and if you are an urban explorer, I would say this place is a must. Alright guys, I continue exploring Albania, and this day is going to be devoted for taking the only passenger train that exists in this country. I'm currently in the city of Durrёs, which is its starting point, and I'm going to travel to another Albanian city by this only Albanian train which is available nowadays. Well, the railway system of Albania has never been prominent for high railway traffic, I would say. It was built in 20th century mainly. It only was connected and still connected to Montenegro railways. However, nowadays the Albanian railways are generally in disrepair, so there is no international railway traffic effectively. There is very limited railway traffic inside the country, and that's the reason why there is only one passenger train, the last Albanian train. We're gonna start this video from exploring the city of Durrёs first, and then eventually we'll catch that only passenger train in Albania. By the way, I'm filming this intro at the site of the old Durrёs railway station, which is currently undergoing reconstructions. Finally, after years of decay, Albanian railways started being reconstructing, but only small portions of it. So this is my very first time in the city of Durrёs. Honestly, I don't know much about its history aside from the fact that this is one of the oldest cities in Albania. But nowadays the city is mostly famous for the fact that there is one of the major seaports in Albania, and also there are some beaches. So in a way you can say that this is both the industrial center of this area of Albania and also, well, like the resort destination. So overall appearance of the city doesn't look different from other Albanian cities. It's a mix of mainly modern architecture with not so much of old stuff. To the left there are buildings, and the first floor of these buildings are taken by some local businesses basically. This can be everything, starting from simple grocery stores up to like barber shops, some garages, some different kinds of businesses. You name it, they have it. We made it to a very nice location in Durrёs. This place is called Illyrian Square. Illyrians, I guess these are the predecessors of Albanians, basically, like ancient tribe from which Albanians originated. That's just the name of the square. The square itself looks very nice, so it probably went through some restoration. So they created this kind of fountains, they planted a bunch of palm trees, so overall it looks, yeah, very attractive, I would say. Very nice place. Behind me is the wall of an ancient fortress which was surrounding the city, and nowadays it's situated almost in its center, but back in times that was the sort of the boundary of the city. Speaking of some other remnants of the past, it's important to notice the amphitheater which you can find in Durrёs. It's also the Illyrian amphitheater, which dates back to the time of the foundation of the city. They use this amphitheater as a storage of their stuff for performances or concerts, which is, well, questionable, I think, because, you know, every day people come here to see its original shape, not to see the stage and this trash remained after previous performance. Speaking about trash situation, I guess by Albanian standard it's average here. Not great, not terrible, but some of the streets are a little bit dirty, as you can see. We are not so far from the city center, actually. The trash is just stored on the side of the road. Unfortunately not cleaned at all. I found a very beautiful viewpoint with the view of the sea and some residential neighborhoods situated not so far from the coastline. So we can see that the coastline here is primarily built up with some high rises, like blocks of flats. There must also be some sort of the waterfront. And yeah, beautiful sea and also a bunch of cargo ships. Do you guys remember giant ass bunkers which we found yesterday? In fact, as I told you, there were bunkers of different size, and a lot of bunkers were actually quite small, like the one behind me. Look at that, it's just a little gun point which can accommodate, well, I guess maximum 2 individuals, but effectively it's individual bunker. None of these bunkers has ever been used in times of the war or something, because there has been no war in Albania for a while. Usually they build the whole system of bunkers, so it's not just like one random bunker. There must be at least a few of them, like 3 or 4. That's why this is bunker number 1, this is bunker number 2. Over there we can already see bunker number 3, and yeah, behind these trees there is another one. So bunkers were connected by trenches, so it was possible to move from one bunker to another. Some bunkers were indeed positioned very randomly, so it's another abandoned structure basically on the street, right? This is the street of Durrёs. In case of this particular shelter, you can even see what was inside a little bit. That was the entrance. However, yeah, it's a little bit dark, so you can hardly see anything. The monument to the unknown soldier looks suspiciously Soviet. In a lot of cities of Soviet Union, former Soviet Union, you can find same kind of the monuments. So I guess they decided not to demolish it because the unknown soldier can be from different kind of the war. It can be Second World War, First World War, or any kind of it. So it's quite universal, and despite the fact that it was probably built here when Albania was communist, still it can be associated with different events of Albanian history. This is the monument to 4 famous iconic rock stars. So here we can see Tina Turner, John Lennon, Bob Dylan, and Mick Jagger. And it's not the coincidence that this monument was situated in front of the monument to the unknown soldier. That was the communist monument to the unknown soldier, and this is the new monument, which basically symbolizes like spiritual, cultural awakening of Albania after the collapse of communist regime. Rock music became available, Western products, Western goods made it to the country eventually after the collapse of the communist regime. Specifically interesting about this monument is that it coexists with that communist monument on the background, so you can catch both of them. The Durrёs coastal area is definitely not the most famous in terms of vacation destination in Albania, because still Durrёs is mainly industrial city. Sea port is, by the way, not so far from here, just a couple of kilometers away. Not the best place to swim, I guess, but for some people it's totally fine, so we can see not like crowds of people on the beaches, but a bunch of them. Well, that was a brief introduction into Durrёs, and now it's high time to walk towards the train station from where the only passenger train in Albania starts running. Right now I'm at Durrёs terminal train station, which is currently under reconstruction, so trains don't run here. However, we can see that already a lot of work has been conducted over here. So they replaced railway tracks, they installed new signalization system, like signaling system, new traffic lights, so to say. But still, the works here have not been finished yet. Anyway, trains don't run to here. The train starts approximately 4 kilometers from here at Durrёs Beach train station. So let's get straight there. Okay, we just made it to the railway station from where the only Albanian train is going to depart very soon, in just 20 minutes. This train only runs to a small town in the middle of nowhere, basically, approximately 1.5 hours, maybe 2 hours away from Durrёs. So if you want to buy the ticket to this train, you can get to this ticket office. It's situated on the edge of the railway platform. The train ticket is very cheap anyway, so it's 95 lek, which is basically €1. Okay. 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 Thank you very much. Well, this is what appears to be the last Albanian train. It's just the locomotive, which is pulling 2 passenger wagons. This train runs from the city of Durrёs, from the intermediate station of Durrёs, because its main station is currently under reconstruction. Only runs 3 days a week, Friday, Saturday and Sunday. The locomotive, as you can see, is basically an old diesel locomotive produced somewhere in Czechoslovakia. You can see the factory label over here. So this train was produced in 1988 in Prague, yeah, the capital city of Czech Republic, which used to be Czechoslovakia back in times. And this is basically the passenger part of the train, so 2 passenger wagons with well, some doors apparently cannot even close them, they don't even have windows. Glass is just beaten somewhere. Hello. You go with this train, right? Yeah, probably. So anyway, let's get inside this train. I can show you around a little bit. So there you go. That's the interior of the train. So it's seat carriage. Huh? Train Pechin, yeah. Yes, I know. Not Elbasan, Pechin.
No,
Pechin. Okay, no problem. I know. Yeah. Yeah, so basically that's how the train looks from the inside. Like, apparently there are not so many passengers who are going to travel today because the train runs to the middle of nowhere, basically. A lot of graffitis and wall paintings, which you can see. But, well, I guess what's important is that this train is still running. Even though, yeah, it's a short distance, but technically you can say that Albania has its passenger trains.
She had the wrong dates set on the stand, so she sold us invalid tickets.
That lady?
Yeah.
So believe it or not, but apparently we've just been sold invalid tickets. What's the date today? It's 17th of August or something? And we were sold tickets which were stamped as 16th of August. See, it's 16, but we were stamped there. Lady put the stamp. Oh, I guess, can you use translator to explain, please? Basically, the ticket seller at that ticket counter, she sold us tickets, but she pressed the stamp from yesterday. They didn't update it for some reasons. So technically, theoretically, you can say that this is invalid ticket, but at the same time, I don't know. The bushes and trees are growing very close to railway tracks, and because of that, they basically scratch the train. So you have to be very careful while seeing what's going on outside the train if you want to look out of the window. Oh, damn it, they actually go inside. They reach the interior of the wagon. Whatever this ancient Albanian train takes us, you can say that this is already an adventure. The adventure has started even before the departure of the train, when we were sold invalid tickets, but let's see if ticket control actually cares about it or not. I don't know. We had no intention to spend that because Albania is a beautiful country and it's just a weird mistake which I hope will not spoil the whole adventure. There is another guy from Germany who also came here specifically to ride this train, so I hope we'll manage to negotiate this issue. I have an idea. We can basically ask other people what kind of tickets did they purchase. Were they also invalid or what? So I really have no idea what's going on. I'm kinda okay, so the conductor doesn't deal with me, but they're trying to shake down the German dude who is also on the train. So let's ask locals what kind of tickets they have. Excuse me, you have ticket? Ticket. See?
I can see.
It shows 16.
Yeah,
Right?
yes.
It's okay. It's okay, right?
Yeah, no, questo tomorrow. No,
Huh?
tomorrow.
So it's okay, right?
Yeah.
You also have it?
No, no, okay, no, questo.
Okay, can you show yours?
Well, okay. Like that. Yeah.
Aha, this is how it looks, right? So this person got different ticket, as you can see. But anyway, I caught it on camera, so it's okay. Okay, thank you.
Dada, нет, нет, dada, dada,
Huh?
dada.
No, it's okay actually. This one is okay, but ours is also okay. Yeah.
Нет.
Well, anyway. Oh, by the way, you know, I asked that other people what their ticket looked like, and they were like today's date, basically. So I don't know what's the
I
reason.
offered to buy a new ticket. She didn't like that offer. She
Okay.
didn't accept that offer. So
Okay, I
I
see.
don't know. It seems like we were at a resolution, but she wants to communicate something else to me. So I'm
Okay, just diplomacy.
curious.
Yeah, international diplomacy.
just always remain calm and smiling.
Indeed. Okay, I guess the conflict which emerged out of nothing, out of invalid ticket, has been solved basically. So we told the conductors the situation and they eventually accepted this fact. Our train right now is departing from its very first stop, the intermediate stop. It used to be a railway station, but nowadays it's just a railway platform without the second active railway track. So anyway, I guess we are gradually leaving Durrёs and entering the countryside of Albania, if you can call it this way. You can see that signaling system basically doesn't exist here nowadays. Signals are broken. Why not? I've challenged myself to take a pee in this train. This is how their bathroom looks. Well, you can even close the door. Not bad, not bad. Over here is just, well, the water closet, so to speak, the toilet. The window is always open, or rather say the glass. Well, you shouldn't expect running water in the sink, but who cares? Most importantly is that you can take a pee if you really want to. Okay, meanwhile we made a stop at intermediate station in Albania nowhere. You speak Russian? Ruski? Not, no?
Нет.
English? German? English little?
Гречо, гречо.
Greek language. Albanian, Greek. I have a question. Enver Hoxha. Enver Hoxha, good or bad? Good or bad?
Good. No.
50-50. 50-50.
50-50.
Enver Hoxha или демократия? Communism or democracy?
Hoxha. Super.
Super good.
Super good.
Really?
Good.
Okay. You live Pichin?
No, Pichin, Rogoshina.
Ah, okay.
Rogozhin, Pichin.
That's a small town. Is it good or it's good? Okay.
Durrёs, Moscow, no.
No Moscow. No Moscow. Ijevsk. Albania just travel.
Just really.
Just travel. 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I know only one Albanian word. Falaminderit.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yes. So even though it's very short route nowadays, just 1.5 hours, we seem to follow the schedule. What can I say? There is obviously no light in this train, and when the train entered the tunnel, it became pitch black inside. Our train is currently approaching one of its last stops. Actually, the next station is going to be the terminus for this train. And that's how it looks. It's another random Albanian town. Yeah, so basically all the intermediate stations on this railway line, they're effectively not in use. So all the railway tracks are rusty, which basically means that no other trains run here. So roughly in 15 minutes the train will reach its terminal station, and we're gonna have to deal with the situation where we'll end up in Albanian nowhere. What are the chances that these seats have ever been cleaned? I guess nearly zero. By the way, look at this ancient construction. This is the active aqueduct. So this is basically the bridge for water, and it's working, it's not abandoned. Okay, our railway adventure is almost over. The train is arriving at its terminal station, which is called Pichin. It's basically halfway from Durrёs to Elbasan. Yes, tomorrow, yes, train.
Tomorrow, yes, morgen, yes.
Okay. Welcome to the town of Pichin, the terminal station of the train. Actually, the conductor has just said that the train runs 4 times a week nowadays, so tomorrow it's also going to run to Durrёs. So we're gonna try to get away from here by taking a bus back to Durrёs, from where my new German friend can basically drive me back to Tirana. But we'll see how it eventually goes. It's random. There is no guarantee that we'll eventually catch the bus or anything, but we're gonna try. Okay, so as long as the train will not take us any further, we would probably have to get back to Durrёs somehow. So we're gonna try to catch the bus. We hoped to leave the town by bus, but we didn't see any. We caught a taxi back to Durrёs, and from there my new friend gave me a ride in his car all the way to Tirana. The next day I set off to explore the capital of Albania. And I hope that during the day the whole trash which remained here after the weekend will be cleaned. Otherwise it's gonna look like this. Benches full of beer bottles, basically. Some packs of cigarettes on the ground. I'm glad to see that someone actually does cleaning in Tirana. These ladies maintain the city's good appearance, but the best way to keep the city clean is obviously not to throw trash randomly, not to leave it. look at that. So it's like the tank, which is painted in this like hippie design with flowers and stuff. So possibly it's another sort of the monument to the fall of communism, because well, tanks and stuff might be associated with the war with the communists. This color, this like painting scheme, flowers, something very peaceful, is completely the opposite to the war, completely the opposite to what this tank was designed for. This general area is marked as Grand Bazaar, so it basically means that we are currently walking down the territory of one of the markets of Tirana. And yeah, indeed, it's like a hidden market which you couldn't even see from that main road which you followed to the city center. So I guess they're mainly focused on selling some clothes over here. Oh, they're actually selling some meat products, carpets, I don't know, some tissues, towels, wet linen. I guess you can also find some souvenir stuff or accessories. Indeed, it seems to be mainly devoted for selling some clothes, but you can also find some food over here, like vegetables, honey. Let's try to find an alternative exit from here. Maybe we'll get to some remote Tirana's neighborhood. Also hard to say that it's remote because we are very close to the city center. Some cutleries, slippers, t-shirts. Again, you name it, they have it. And eventually see this kind of market, it's neighboring this newly built residential area. So there is a great contrast between what you see over here and these new residential complexes. Yeah, you just cross 50 meters and you enter an entirely different environment. The old Tirana neighbors the brand new one. Look at that, there is the man who is selling bananas. Only bananas on the street, and they look very nice, so I guess I'll take a couple of them. Hello, two. Just two bananas. Yes. Yeah, I don't really need a lot for the breakfast. How much? 50? Okay, 70. So okay, thank you very much. Thank you, have a nice day. Bye bye. You can have wonderful bananas on the streets of Tirana. Well, two of them were sold for less than €1. As everywhere in the Balkans, here in Albania, throughout the whole day you can see people sipping coffee in tons of like coffee shops and restaurants, which exist everywhere in the country, even in some small, remote, God-forgotten towns. So I guess, yeah, it's a part of the local culture, basically. I do like traffic lights in Tirana. They seem to place the coat of arms of Albania on both green and red light. The very center of Tirana is marked by Skanderbeg Square. This is this huge space. Here we can see the concentration of some important locations for the city. Behind me over there is Opera. There is the National Museum of Albania. The most exciting part of the square is definitely the mosaic situated on the building of the National Museum of Albania, which basically illustrates the diversity of Albanian culture. There is even an open-air book market somewhere in the center of the city. There is just one person who is selling these books. One of the remarkable remnants of Ervan's Hoxha era is the Pyramid of Tirana, which was originally built in the 1980s as the Museum of Ervan Hoxha. However, eventually it was converted into the creative space, or also you can call it like an IT hub. So for a long time this structure was abandoned, and in the 1990s, in times of the Kosovo War, it was one of the headquarters point of NATO forces. But eventually after that the place was abandoned for a very long time. It was reconstructed lately in 2023 and converted into this IT hub, aka creative space. So this is the modern day look of the top of the pyramid of Enver's Hoxha. It's basically a publicly accessible viewpoint from where we can see the surrounding area of the square where the pyramid was built. just a little bit of the city. So this is the look of the inside outs of the Tirana pyramid after reconstruction. So as I said, it was converted into the IT hub, innovation hub basically. So they built some new structures inside. There is the fragment of original Berlin Wall, which was donated by Berlin government to Albania, and it's sort of the memorial site to the period of communism, the period of isolation in Albania. Because, you know, Germany also went through it. This is only a part of this kind of the memorial site dedicated to that Ervan Hoxha era. The second part of the memorial site is the bunker, one of the bunkers of Albania. Currently just used as a public bathroom due to the stink of urine. But that's how it originally looked. There were 2 gun points, as far as I understand. Thousands of them were erected all around the country. Albania's countless bunkers are not only scattered across its landscape, but have also been turned into museums that tell the story of the country's recent past. This is where 2 bunk art museums come in. Bunk Art 1 is the larger of the 2. It is housed in a huge underground nuclear bunker built for Enver Hoxha and the communist elite in case of a foreign attack. Today, its dozens of rooms and long corridors have been turned into exhibitions about Albania's political history, daily life under communism, and the atmosphere of isolation that defined that era. Bunk Art 2, on the other hand, is located right in the center of Tirana. It used to be a secret shelter for the Ministry of Internal Affairs, built to withstand chemical or nuclear strikes. The museum focuses more on the role of the secret police, the persecution of dissidents, and the mechanisms of state control. It's a powerful experience, showing how ordinary people lived under constant fear and surveillance. The next day, a couple of my friends who were also traveling around Albania at that time joined me on my way around the country. We continued hitchhiking together, from Tirana toward Lake Ohrid. Before we made it to the lake, I made a short detour to the site of the former Elbasan metallurgical plant. It was one of the largest industrial enterprises in the country, built during the socialist era with the support of the Soviet Union. The plant produced steel and rolled metal, supplying almost all of Albania with metallurgy. However, after the crisis of the 1990s, production gradually came to a halt, and today only ruins and abandoned workshops remain, a silent reminder of that era. Since there is hardly anything left to see on the factory grounds, just bare walls and empty buildings, I didn't stay there long. So let's move on to our next destination, the small town of Vlorë on the shores of Lake Ohrid. Just like a little town with not so many interesting things to see. But there are some pretty old streets actually, and they have a very nice view of the lake, which we are going to check soon, but currently we are looking for the place to have a meal. So we are going to try some local specialties. It's basically a local burik, which is supposedly made with tomato and onion. You go first.
God bless you. Not that bad as I expected.
Eatable?
Eatable.
I think it goes well with beer, so I'm well prepared for this. I bought some Macedonian beer, which is sold over here in the grocery store. So yeah, I guess I figure out the meal. You can see part of the Vlorë town over there. A portion of Macedonia, by the way, because only part of the lake is belonging to Albania. Over there must be Macedonia already. The water is very transparent, I would say. Yeah, I guess it's a perfect spot for swimming. Is it красиво?
More than.
So the place which we wanted to check is one of the Albanian bunkers, situated on the tip of this cape in Vlorë, with the panoramic view of Ohrid Lake. In case of the potential war between, let's say, Albania and Macedonia, it would be one of the first attacked locations in the whole country, because Macedonia is basically around us right now. Right on the edge of a cliff above Lake Ohrid, there is a bunker from the communist era. Albania is covered with thousands of such structures, but this one stands out because of its location, offering a breathtaking panoramic view over the lake. Once part of the country's defense system, today the bunker has been transformed into a small chapel with icons and candles.
That's something which you don't expect from the communist bunker in Albania.
After exploring the bunker, we simply couldn't resist the temptation to swim in the lake. The water was incredibly clear and transparent. We enjoyed the swim very much, and it felt like a perfect break after the road. Then we continued hitchhiking towards our next destination, which was located quite far from Lake Ohrid, but despite the distance, we managed to get there in just a few hours. We decided to go to the roadside cafe to have a meal. That would be our dinner, and eventually we'll continue hitchhiking further towards our next destination. That's going to be our dinner. We're eating salads and the soup. It says there's salad for 4.5 euros.
So the guys decided to pitch their tent, and I'm basically going to sleep next to it. We found a similarly secured location somewhere at someone's neighborhood, basically. Okay, the guys have pitched their tent, and a small portion of the tent is also going to cover me over here. So we have this kind of protective layer of tissue which isolates my travel mat from the ground. That's my travel mat and sleeping bag. We fixed the tent with the tripod, and another part of it is tightened to the branch of this tree, and the guys are sleeping inside the tent. Good morning in the town of Berat. That's the place where we pitched our tent. Well, to be honest, we pitched it at someone's property. So someone's backyard, you can say. It's just very big, so we couldn't see the house, we couldn't see any obstacle to do so. There was even no fence, so we basically walked in to this territory. We have already been greeted by the owner of this territory, but the lady was very chill. So we just showed by gestures that we were sleeping here, that we were tourists, and that's it. She left us alone. It's actually a good time to wake up for us. It's around 8 AM. It's gradually getting hotter and hotter, so anyway, inside the tent it's also getting way hotter. So yeah, I'm gonna pack up our stuff and check out the place. We have been desperately looking for a place to have a meal for the last 20 to 25 minutes. Basically all the cafes we passed, they only serve drinks and mainly coffee. We've passed a dozen of cafes and not a single one was serving food. It's crazy. Anyway, we are just continue following this sidewalk towards the city center to eventually find something where we can have a lunch. See, they're all having coffees over here, just drinks. So apparently that's gonna be our order. We just ordered cream soups with chicken because other dishes were basically unavailable in the menu and we didn't have much of the choice. So this soup has been served with this slice of lemon. Let me try it too. I would accept it, to be honest. It's not great, but you can eat it. We are getting deeper into the old town of Berat, which is remarkable by its traditional Albanian architecture. If you look in the picture, you can see that this kind of architecture has a lot in common with Turkish architecture, actually. And it's not surprising because Albania was influenced by Ottoman Empire back in times, and Ottoman Empire also influenced local architecture. So there is a distinct old town for which the city is known as the City of 1000 Windows. Well, probably because these old houses contain a lot of windows. And the city is situated on different levels. So we are currently on its bottom level, but at the same time, if you turn left, there is another sort of the old town on top of this hill. Another remarkable spot down there is the bridge, judging by its architecture, the Ottoman bridge. So these kind of bridges can be found pretty much everywhere in this general area of Balkans, which was ruled by Ottoman Empire. So let's say in Bosnia and Herzegovina, in Montenegro, here in Albania.
So, having reached the Berat castle, we basically ended up in the area of some medieval town with all of these narrow streets paved with stones. See, all the walls of these buildings are also made of stones. We made it to the Berat castle, aka Berat fortress, which is remarkable by the fact that this is one of the very few actually residential fortresses or castles in this area, because usually when you visit this kind of places, the ordinary people don't live inside this territory. But the Berat castle is an exception, so you can see some standard residential area inside it where ordinary people live. And also it's remarkable by the fact that here you can trace some cultural heritage. So for example, behind me is a part of an ancient mosque, the so-called Red Mosque. This part of the structure used to be the minaret or something. And yeah, it's just one of the examples of what you can find here. I'm currently staying on the wall of the castle, from where we can see the panorama of Berat. Our adventures around Albania, and we are actually already driving in our car, which is going to give us a lift to the next destination on our way. So as you can see, it's kind of the van, so there was only one seat in front next to the driver. There is Maxim right now, and me and Alina decided to go basically inside this van. You know, there is no proper ventilation, it's quite hot inside, but I guess we can survive, because overall the total journey shouldn't exceed 1 hour. Finish?
Finish.
Okay, cool.
Макс, а можешь фотку сделать?
No, leave it, but I have problem with the police. Here is problem for me.
Okay. So we carry on exploring Albania. We reached our next destination, which happened to be a small town called Fier. Nothing remarkable in the city itself, but there are some interesting sights around it. So the area around us looks quite industrial, and it means that we are going to explore another industrial zone, which is, well, quite big. The industrial heritage of communist Albania. Basically, we are approaching the thermal power plant of Fier. I would say that compared to some other industries in Albania, this one has been relatively well preserved, although realistically you can see that it's just very concrete. Based on our observation, this was indeed a very massive power plant, considering the amount of these cooling towers. So we can already see 1, 2, 3. There is another 3 cooling towers and another one on the background. So at least 7 cooling towers. We can actually see that currently this thermal power plant is being demolished. Over there in the abandoned garage there is an excavator. And it seems that they are getting rid of this historical industrial heritage, which is not necessarily sad, it's just the reality, because there is no need to keep these structures. That is a close view of the cooling tower of the thermal power plant. Its purpose was basically to cool water which circulates on the thermal power plant. But if you look up, you can actually see that beyond this labyrinth of concrete beams, there is the tower from the inside, basically. Okay, I'm coming to the guys. They have already started climbing up the ladder to the top of the chimney. Well, let's see how it goes. Fingers crossed we'll make it on top. Basically, I made it to the middle of one of the chimneys. This is the view from here. We have just been spotted by someone, so I guess it's better for me to get down pretty much immediately. Yeah, the ladder is quite rotten, so I wasn't brave enough to continue climbing, but the guys did. Even though the factory was abandoned, it turned out that someone was still watching over it. As we came down, the guards threatened to call the police for trespassing on what they claimed was private property, and they even tried to handcuff us. Luckily, they failed, and instead they started demanding a bribe of about 20 euros from each of us. We refused to pay and simply ran away. In the end, the guards didn't bother chasing us, so we waited for some time outside Fier and only later went back into the city. My friend got a response on couch surfing. His request was accepted and the host even came to pick us up. He turned out to be a local resident and a member of the Evangelic Church. And that detail matters, because in the end we spent the night inside the premises of that very evangelical church in Fier. And what's funny is that we've been hosted not exactly at the place of this guy, but in a space or like in a building of a local evangelic church. That's how it looks. It's their sort of the hall, or I don't know, meeting hall, let's say. They even have a kitchen over here, funnily enough. Over here we even have our own bathroom. Unexpected opportunity to stay not in the nature but in some relatively reasonable area. This night is going to be spent here in the Evangelic Church of Fier. Okay, a new day in Albania has just started. We woke up in our evangelic church. We're looking for a place to have breakfast right now, and later we're gonna check a couple of interesting sites in the city and close vicinity of Fier. Well, that's gonna be another challenging day for us because the daytime temperature is about to reach plus 36 degrees Celsius in shadow, which basically means it's gonna be around 50, more than 50 on the sun. Well, I guess we're gonna start our day with the fast food for breakfast, but prices are pretty cheap, even for modern day Albania. Just €2.5 euro for gyros. We just ordered some kind of the local, simple local dish with meat. It must be chicken, but you can also put a little bit of salad, spreads and vegetables inside. That's how our breakfast looks. It's basically a doner inside the bread. It contains of some chicken meat, French potatoes and spreads. Also there was a little bit of salad. Some of the best deals which you can have here in Albania for 2.5 euros, to be honest. So it's hard to complain for the price. The next day in Albania we planned to explore some interesting places around the city of Fier. Our first destination was the nearest beach on the Adriatic coast. On Seman beach stood the first sight we wanted to see. A water tower that, from the shore, looked as if it was rising straight out of the sea. The scene felt almost surreal, with strong coastal winds, high waves crashing on the beach, and this lone tower standing in the water. The story behind it is quite unusual. The tower was built several decades ago, back when there was land where it now stands. However, it was constructed on sandy soil, which was vulnerable to erosion. Over time, constant winds and the surge waves of the Adriatic gradually washed away a significant part of the shoreline, leaving the water tower stranded in the sea. Yet it still hasn't collapsed. It continues to stand firmly, creating a striking sight and a great opportunity for unique photos. After visiting the water tower, we returned to Fier to see the ancient ruins of the city of Apollonia, located nearby. It's some kind of the ancient city, the ruins of the ancient city. But you know, this is Albania, so it's not just the ruins, it's also the territory of the former either military base or just military facility, you can say. So here in this Apollonia is a system of abandoned military tunnels. And apparently we've just found the entrance to it. I'm gonna leave my backpack because the passage is quite narrow. And see how it goes. So that's how it looks. This system of bunkers and tunnels was placed inside the mountain. There must be multiple entrances and exits. I guess we have just found one of them. Yeah, that's gonna be exactly the same passage. Let's see where this one goes. Yeah, so it's not really a big site, the whole system. What's also interesting, something which you cannot see, but if you zoom in, you'll notice a grove of 4 massive bunkers in another mountain, maybe a couple of kilometers away from here behind me. Basically, the whole Albania was fortified in times of Enver Hoxha. I guess that's the only period of time when all of these fortifications could appear here. Anyway, it's mainly an archaeological and historical site, not the military site. So that's why we can find some interesting historical objects over here. So behind me is one of the most famous ruins in the entire country of Albania. This is the city council of an ancient city. You can see this classic architecture with very remarkable columns. And next to this building there used to be the amphitheater, sort of the place for gathering. I don't know how much trash I shown in Albania in my videos, but I just cannot leave it unmentioned. So there is too much areas in Albania which are polluted with just random trash, you know? It's very common on some roadsides, roundabouts, pretty much everywhere, even in cities and towns. So the country is unfortunately dirty, and that's the #1 thing which spoils the whole impression of Albania, because actually the country is nice, but not clean at all. From Fier, we hitchhiked to the city of Gjirokastër, our next stop along the route. We arrived there in the evening, had dinner, and the only thing left was to find a place to sleep. The guys went to pitch a tent by the river, when I spent the night on the technical floor of a building right across from the restaurant where we had dinner. And the next day we began exploring the city. The main landmark of Gjirokastër is its castle, and castles are known to be situated on some elevated points of the terrain. That's why to get to them you have to climb up the hill. There is a lot of enjoyable narrow streets which look extremely authentic, and this whole area is residential, so people live here. And yeah, they have to deal with these ups and downs of local terrain on a daily basis. Look at that street. It seems that the upper we go, the more narrow they become. You can see cuts in the concrete pavement on up hills. It was done intentionally for better clutch of tires. I can imagine in winter, if temperature drops here and if anything freezes, it becomes just like one massive slide. That's why they did this kind of cuts. Gjirokastër is one of the most unique cities in Albania, famous for its stone-built old town, which is listed as a UNESCO World Heritage Site. The main landmark here is the fortress though. From the top you get stunning views of all Gjirokastër and the surrounding valley. Inside the fortress you can see not only massive walls and towers but also an exhibition of military equipment. The most unusual exhibit is an American Lockheed T-33 jet, which ended up in Albania in the late 1950s. It was intercepted by the Albanian Air Force and eventually placed inside the fortress as a kind of Cold War trophy. From the fortress you are getting back to the old town of Gjirokastër, which is, well, extremely touristy. There are mainly souvenir shops and restaurants, and this is the concentration of all of this historical Ottoman architecture. Okay, I eventually met up with the guys and we went for breakfast. So I've just ordered some spaghetti with cheese and meat. So anyway, how did you spend the night? That hit hard.
Pretty adventurous.
You spent the night in an adventurous manner.
Yeah.
Did you manage to sleep good?
You can check. I saw the spider.
You saw that spider in Albania tonight?
Yeah, near our
last
tent.
night.
So almost this size.
Oh Jesus. Even though I reunited with my friends for breakfast, soon we had to split up again. They headed south from Gjirokastër while I went north. On the way to my next destination, I made a stop in the small town of Tepelenё. There you can still find the ruins of a concentration camp established under Enver Hoxha's regime. During communist times in Albania, this camp was used to imprison political opponents, as well as entire families accused of being against the regime. Conditions there were extremely harsh, with forced labor, poor nutrition, and high mortality. And today the remnants of the camp serve as a grim reminder of that period in Albania's history. After Tepelenё, I continued to the coastal city of Vlora. I'm going to spend a couple of days here, probably just see some interesting and not interesting sights. Anyway, there is such a pleasant old town area with a bunch of cafes and restaurants that you can enjoy. And yeah, during daytime it's a little bit hot over here, but after 6 or 7 p.m. the temperature eventually dies down, so it becomes very pleasant to hang out. The old town of Vlora actually is quite small, so you can explore it pretty quickly. So yeah, what we can see here, there are these kind of like ancient old houses which we can find in other old towns of Albania. Here they just painted in different colors like yellow, pink, red. You can get some local ice cream if you're a fan of it, like this. Yeah, just other sort of restaurants basically. Vlora is a coastal city remarkable by its coastline and the seaport where Albania exports its oil products. Yeah, it's just one of the elevated viewpoints from where we can see good portion of the city actually. Over there in front of us is already the sea. A group of islands is also visible on the background. Actually quite a scenic area, I must admit. It's always interesting to see how Albanian railways look in different parts of the country. So we have already taken the passenger train. Unfortunately, the railway in this town is not functioning. So this is the site of the, you can say, former railway station of Vlora. It's the train station building itself is abandoned and ruined. Currently it's just a promenade for locals, like the way to their places. See, railway tracks are entirely rusty over here. It's also very trashy, very dirty. I guess some poor neighborhoods are situated by the railway tracks. But anyway, it is how it is nowadays. We made it to the coastline of Vlora, and here I'm going to try to get to one of the islands near the city. The place is called Sazan Island, which is remarkable by the fact that in the past there used to be a Soviet military base. As long as this is the island, I would have to find a boat to get there. So I basically showed up at the coast of Vlora, at its waterfront, hoping to find the transportation. There's actually a lot of boats, and I guess they all are going to start at more or less the same time, at around 9 or 10 a.m. I will be accompanied by other people too, because I can imagine renting an individual boat just for myself would be very expensive. Okay, figuring out the transportation to the island happened to be easier than I expected. So you have two options. You can either go there by a larger boat, which is going to be a slower process but cheaper for 25 euros roughly, or you can take one of these boats for roughly 35 or 40 euros, which is going to be faster. There is no fixed time of the departure, so I guess the boat departs as soon as enough people has purchased tickets. So I bought a ticket, and the person who was selling me the ticket, he was actually staying straight here at the waterfront. He told me that the departure time will be between 9:30 to 10 a.m. So I have basically half an hour to prepare. And you see, after time more and more people show up, so the best way to visit that whole area would probably be to go early in the morning, but I have no idea when the first boats depart. Sazan Island is the largest island in Albania, and it has a very interesting history. For many years it was closed to the public as it served a strictly military purpose. During the communist period it was used as a naval base with underground tunnels, bunkers and fortifications spread across the island. Even after the fall of communism, the military retained control for a long time, and only recently has the island become accessible to visitors. There is still a small Albanian military presence on the island, mostly to secure it and prevent looting. However, the large garrisons of the communist era are long gone, and the fortifications are abandoned. It only opened for tourism in 2015, when the Albanian government decided to promote it as a cultural and natural attraction. Okay, we have just made it to Sazan Island, a very interesting place near the city of Vlora, the island in Adriatic Sea, with a very spectacular history actually. Initially we were supposed to stay just half an hour here, but the boatman made an exception for me specifically, so we will stay here for 50 minutes. So Rachel have to run to that settlement to be able to film something. So we are currently walking an old road which was leading to the abandoned military settlement. Supposedly up to 3,000 bunkers were placed on the territory of the island. You can enjoy a lot of beautiful panoramas from the island, which by the way up until 1947 belonged to Italy, but nowadays it's part of the independent Albania. Beautiful seaside, and if you look around we can see the ruins of a school, Sazan Island School. Information about it, so when you visit these abandoned structures you can know about the history of the place as well. So it says that in 1953 the first school was opened here. So we are entering the school of Sazan Island, which, judging by the entrance desk, was like 8 years school. So students studied here for 8 years. Here we are inside the school. This is its main hall, main passage. We can still find the ruins of school equipment, such as the desk, for example. The school wasn't big though, so really not so much stuff has been preserved. See, the cabinets, the rooms are mostly empty, but it would be a fantastic camping spot, I'm not gonna lie. So the military town, which was based on this island, was able to accommodate up to 10,000 people. So obviously some of them had families and children, and they had to study somewhere. So as long as this island belonged to the military, in addition to bunkers, there was the whole system of tunnels, maybe several systems of tunnels, because the island is situated on the mountainside. And this is one of the entrances to the underground system of bunkers or something, maybe just a military fortification. I literally have no time to go there, but you can easily find it here in this island if you follow the main path towards the abandoned military settlement. So let's go further to see more of the military town. So in this ghost town we can find some abandoned blocks of flats which were inhabited by military who was stationed here. They look standard, there is really nothing to see inside. An entrance to some of them is basically overgrown with deep bushes. But I must admit, guys, that someone who was living here had a fantastic view on the Adriatic Sea. And it was also possible to see the mainland of Albania over there. Okay, we've got a golden opportunity to explore the inside out of one of the abandoned buildings. So this is how the very first floor looks. As you can see, nowadays it's just bare concrete walls with basically nothing inside. So let's get to some upper floor. There was the staircase. We reached the second floor right now, but every single apartment is basically empty. Check out the balcony. Yeah, the view was fantastic. It's basically the seaside view. See, a bunch of boats are currently approaching the island with more and more tourists. The entrance to the cinema was marked by this massive staircase. This is the real find right now. We can say that we are in the cinema. They even had a stage, so I can imagine some performances were going on in this building. Little window, it's just for like a cinema projector or something. Movie projector, how do you call it in English? So yeah, it's also ruined, but fascinating to see all of these remnants of the non-existent era anymore. After visiting Sazan Island, our tour did not finish. We sailed a bit along the coast of Sazan. From the sea we could see fortification carved directly into the cliffs. On the shoreline there were bunkers, tunnels and caves that most likely had a military purpose. Our guide brought the boat closer to what he called an abandoned military base. For that I was especially grateful to him, because that place is so inconspicuous that it's not marked on commonly used maps. After that we went to our next stop, the cave of Haji Ali on the Karaburun Peninsula. approaching the enormous dark opening in the cliff was an impressive sight. A wide entrance, turquoise waters inside, and a mysterious atmosphere as if it had once been a hideout for pirates or ancient sailors. After a brief stop at the cave, our journey went on, and soon the boat dropped us off at one of the remote beaches of Karaburun. We were supposed to spend 3.5 hours there. The beach was indeed beautiful, crystal clear water, a pebbled shore, and even some basic infrastructure with sunbeds and umbrellas. For those who enjoy swimming and relaxing by the sea, it must have felt like paradise. But for me, someone who isn't very fond of swimming, the time passed incredibly slowly. There was no way to live on food. The beach was far from any road, so I had no choice but to endure and wait. In the end, I spent a few hours just waiting for our boat, which eventually picked us up and took us back to Vlora, where our sea journey had ended. I got back to the city of Vlora from the boat tour. In total it lasted 6.5 hours actually, quite a lot, so Sazan Island was the most interesting part for sure. I wish we spent more time there. This is one of the public beaches of Vlora, with the spectacular view of the city, by the way, especially in the evening when sun illuminates the whole city, basically, the seaside. This place is not crowded, so if you want to swim in some shallow water or just bath, basically, then this is the place to go. And even though Vlora seemed to be quite clean city in its center, just 1 kilometer away from the city center we can see this. Seaside is even visible from here, and this is how dirty this street is. This is the last main street before the beach, basically. Very, very dirty. This is another day in Albania, and currently I'm about to leave the city of Vlora, where I spent almost 3 days. So the very last stage is basically going to be the trekking, like the hike across Albanian mountains. But to get there, we first have to hitchhike for quite a while. The final part of my journey in Albania was supposed to be a hike across the Albanian Alps, from Valbona to Thet. This trail is one of the most famous, if not the most famous hiking route in the entire country. It crosses the Valbona Pass at almost 1,800 meters above sea level, connecting the Valbona Valley National Park with Thet National Park, both located in the so-called Albanian Alps, in the country's north. To reach the starting point, I set off from Vlora in the morning by hitchhiking, knowing that I had to cover almost 400 kilometers, something nearly impossible to manage in just one day. Okay, I'm gradually moving towards the border with Kosovo. I don't have to enter Kosovo, but I have to follow the highway leading there. Actually, I need to drive for around 200 kilometers more to reach the destination which I set for myself for today. But the last stretch of this hitchhiking session is going to be the most difficult. By nightfall I only made it as far as the nearest town to the starting point, where I spent the night. The next morning I hit the road again, and with one last ride I finally reached Valbona, the mountain village from where my hike would begin. Valbona itself is a picturesque settlement surrounded by high peaks and alpine scenery. During my short stay there, I also came across a few bunkers built during the communist regime of Enver Hoxha. It was amusing to see how even in such a remote and isolated mountain valley, the traces of Albania's communist past were still present. Welcome to Albanian Alps. I'm currently at the starting point of my trek in the village called Valbona. From here I'm going to walk to a small town called Thet, situated approximately 15 to 17 kilometers from here. And I will have to cross these mountains, these wonderful mountains, which look like some of the most beautiful mountains I've ever seen, to be honest. We are passing by the river Valbona. It has similar name to this village, but there is no river. It's dry. It's a common situation in areas where it's not raining on regular basis. We are at the very beginning of the trail to Thet. This is the end of paved road, which terminates next to one of the hovels of Valbona. Based on the street sign, it's 6 hours and 40 minutes to Thet. Let's see if it's correct calculation or not. I'm not going to walk too fast, but at the same time my pace is not the slowest for sure. I don't have trekking sticks, so I'm just casually walking. Normally I don't pay much attention on the surrounding area, on the surrounding environment, but well, this is the whole point of this hike, so we can have a chance to stop anytime and just have a closer look on all of these mountains. By the way, I see an increasing number of vehicles going up the hill, so I guess it's very popular among tourists. So basically order them and yeah, go up the hill somehow. See, they're full, all of these minibuses. I just made a 20-minute stop at the point with spectacular view on the valley. I managed to catch up with the majority of tourists who started today earlier than me. So anyway, I guess it's around 5 hours left till the end of the hike. I skipped the cafe which I wanted to visit because it seemed to be closed, so I hope I'll have enough water till the end of this journey. I'm currently conquering the most annoying part of the hike, going up the hill. I still have to walk for about, I guess for about 2 hours up the hill, but it's not steep, which is important, so you can actually walk it. You know, you're not crawling it. There is also, like, occasionally you can see some local cafes and restaurants where you can take a break, have a coffee, for example. Yeah, locals sell coffee mainly, actually. I haven't tried it yet, but definitely worth it, especially considering the views. So these mountains are basically the Valbona Pass, the highest point of the trail, so somehow we're gonna get there on top. So based on the map, the hike from this point to the top of the pass is going to be, it's going to take around 1 hour and 40 minutes, and after that we'll start going downhill. So we're gonna start descending to Tet. Yeah, the path is pretty much walkable, so it's not such an exhausting experience as you can imagine. Yeah, think about it, we came from there. This is the river valley where the hike started, and we had to climb all the way to the point from where I'm filming in this whole thing. So we gained approximately 1 kilometer. Okay, so this is what is known to be as Valbona Pass. It's basically the central point of the hike, roughly. I came from the right side and now I'm gonna go down to the settlement, which you can see on the background. This is the settlement of Tet. So based on maps, it's gonna take 2.5 hours. So it's quite realistic to get there by 2 p.m. I must admit that getting down is way easier than getting up this time. The path is still scenic. It's 3.5 kilometers left to Tet. Having reached Tet, I completed my whole itinerary for Albania. This is going to be the very last day of my exploration of this country. I spent totally around 9 or 10 days here, and it was fantastic. I like my Albanian experience. Thank you guys for watching this video. I appreciate your support. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel, click like, click the bell to be notified about new videos, and yeah, see you in the next episode. Ciao.